And there we go. All right. Papa D here, guys. Hope you're doing all right this evening. Clearly having a few little early audio glitches, but all looks well right now as far as I can tell. All right. Well, welcome to tonight's broadcast. And a good broadcast we know it will be. We have a lot to talk about tonight, that is for sure. And after last night's event, to say the least. So I want to welcome you all in tonight. And again, for new viewers, this is Let's Talk About It with Papa D and my always knowledgeable and awesome co-host, my daughter Angela. And I'm going to try to work some magic. Hey there. Yep, hold on, we don't have an audio feed from you right now. Okay. I've got it on my end. Are you turned up? All right, you might want to reset that setting we had the problem with last week. But you work on that. But anyway, we're going to be getting into pretty deep tonight the events of last evening, the debate that actually was a 3-on-1. And that was an interesting evening. Let me know when you get reset. I'll be able to hear you, Ange. I got nothing yet. Do you want to do a reconnect or you want to do a reset? Okay, we've got nothing yet on this end. Let me make sure. Looks like everything's good on this end here. Okay, everything looks good on this end. Did you have that piece reset that went wonky on you last week? And this is live streaming, folks. Okay, we've got nothing yet. Let's let me send you a new invite, Ange, and try to bring you back in. Okay, we'll try it that way. All right, folks. Just give me one second. We're going to try to get Angie in here. She is up in Tennessee, and unfortunately, we've got a little bit of a glitch on this end. But just wanted to kind of do a little recap while we wait for Angie to come back in and see if we can bring her in on that. But had an interesting evening last night, to say the least, and the debate between Kamala Harris and President Donald J. Trump was interesting to say the least. The event ran just over 90 minutes. It did run long, and albeit a three-way attack, to say the least. And we're going to try to bring Angie here on a separate channel, see if I can get some audio. Ange? I've got nothing. Nothing on this end. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Yeah, I've got nothing. It's not. You're not sending any audio my way. It's not coming through the pipeline. You want to work on that for a bit and then shoot me a text when you get some audio. I'm going to leave you on this channel here. I'm not going to reboot you. But I will have, send me a text when you get that reset done. All right. All right, guys. But yeah, the event went long last night, a little bit longer than was originally planned, and as we'll talk about, a lot of interesting points. It certainly became clear that the tactic, as we all thought, would be attack. And as we'll talk more about, I did not hear anything with respect to what the plans were, what the potential new administration would do about the economy, about the illegal alien issues. I think what I heard initially, any of my initial thoughts were, you don't answer questions with attacks on the opponent. Every question that was asked was resulted in Kamal looking over and beginning a new attack on character and a whole lot of lies. I know Angie's got some stats on this, and we'll talk more about it, but she caught, I think, 29 separate events that Kamala, we will be kind and say misspoke, but clearly did not act in a truthful fashion, answer in a truthful fashion. Certainly the overall tone of the event was one that went on the attack right away, and the intent was to get President Trump riled up, figuring if they could get him to pop off a little bit and somewhat lose control, that would serve a purpose of what they were trying to get, as opposed to discussing where they have been as an administration, and then come back with what they plan on doing, or what she would plan on doing if she received the votes to get the office herself. None of that took place that I could hear. The attacks were pretty much constant, and the barrage and the assistance of the moderators was beyond reproach. And again, I'm just doing the recap. The deep dive we'll get more into. And all right, let me try switching over and see if I can get Angie in here, and then I'll go from there. Ange? Yeah, the audio's not getting in on this end. Try it again. You there?
How about that?
I got
Is that
you.
better?
I got you.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
All right.
Okay.
Give me
All
a
right.
second. I have to bring the split screen back in. So you go
Okay.
ahead. What I've done basically, and again, thanks guys for sticking in there with us.
Yes, thank
technical-
you.
Yeah, this is a live broadcast, and sometimes technicalities. That's not the right word. The technical world gets beyond us. I appreciate you standing by while we work that out. But what I was doing, Ange, I don't know if you could hear me coming across the feed to Tennessee, but just kind of the overview of the general evening, what I saw. I know we're going to do a deeper dive. You've done a whole lot of work and with respect to that, and then the updated poll and results and all that. But I'm going to just start off before I flip over here and bring up the split screen. I'm going to give you the table here. I just want to stop and thank everyone. Again, we start off with our thanks to our subscribers. We thank the new subscribers. Any folks that are out there tonight that are in for the first time, we would love to have you be a member of our family here at the Talk of the Town show, or whatever we want to call it.
Our hot take of the week,
Our hot take of the week, absolutely. And boy, it's a hot take this week. But we want to thank you guys. I want to thank Madness Productions for the music bumpers. And I want to thank you all for coming out here and listening to us and putting up with the first few minutes while we figure out all these little gremlins. We got these gremlins out of the system, but it's a little bit of a haul from here to Tennessee. So there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong there. But you go ahead and do that. I got to do a couple things here and bring you in to the split.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn this over to you for kind of your take on the overview, and then we'll slide back into the general information for what took place or what we saw last night. And
Right.
again, we're not going to call
Our
this
our
a debate.
opinions.
Yeah, we're not going to call this a debate. We're going to call this an event because I'm sorry,
Okay.
a
It
three
was
on one
it
is
was
not a
something.
debate. It was a something. All right.
Yeah.
So you take it, Ange. You roll with it and give me a couple of seconds here to finish up repatching us all together.
Okay, sounds good. Like Dad was saying, thank you guys for sticking with us. Really means a lot, and there's so much that we're gonna get to tonight. Really, not just about the events that happened yesterday. I do want to start out tonight by saying, as today is 9/11, and it has been 23 years. I just want to say that we have come so far, but we still have so far to go. And I just want to give my heartfelt condolences. My thoughts are with you all today, all of the families who have lost loved ones that day, everyone who didn't have their dad come home that evening, their mom, their grandmother, their sister, their brother, their aunt, their uncle. Everyone was affected that day. And I still remember where I was that day. And I just want to start out with saying our thoughts are with you, and absolutely our prayers are with you every single year on this day. We will never forget. With that being
Absolutely. Let
said,
me let me mirror that same thing. We will never forget. We will never forget the heroes, and we are still losing heroes to this day due to what took place on that day.
right.
We will never forget you guys. We will never forget the people that went down in Pennsylvania, those heroes, and the ones that went down at the Pentagon. It was a day that we will never forget, and you should never forget. And I feel
No,
bad because
never.
I got this morning, and I was on my way heading into work, and I had to do a quick run out the door because traffic went nuts all at once, and it took me about a hot 15 minutes to realize what the day was, and I felt horrible because, but my brain was still fogged up. But I made sure everybody around me remembered it, and the number I don't talk about where I work or what I do. I don't think that's appropriate. Nothing wrong with it. It's just separate from my or part of my life, and I enjoy it. And but that day I saw a lot of people today coming in with flag shirts and flag ties and flag everything. So everyone has still kept in their heart what happened, and I'm glad you brought
Absolutely.
that up, Ange. Thanks for starting off with that.
Yeah. But with last night, I know you kind of opened up with, what you were seeing, just the atmosphere of how everything started off last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not nervous for either side. I do feel overall like, even though this is the first time that they're ever in the same, like close proximity as each other, the first ever handshake between the two of them. I think it's kind of, we're at that point in the election cycle where a lot of people who are eligible to vote, that do plan on voting, whether it's early, day of, mail in, however, whatever works for you, those people, most of them, have already made up their mind about who they're going to vote for. So the events that went down last night really for me was just kind of like it was like a formality of, well, we have to do it, and it is kind of a traditional thing. It's necessary because there are so many different elections that have passed before that was a necessity to learn about who you felt you were going to choose. This, though, I didn't feel was that. I felt as though, and it started off with, and I will get into the first little tidbit that I noticed that I was kind of like, was when Kamala Harris came out, Donald Trump came out onto the stage. They were introduced, they walked out at the same time, and Kamala Harris walked over to Donald Trump stuck her hand out to shake his hand. That's a good gesture.
Yeah,
But
which
she
Donald was
introduced
originally not going to
herself.
reciprocate.
Right. She introduced herself Kamala Harris. Like he didn't know who she was. And I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of telling because I think with all of the debate prep, the debate camp that was going on behind closed doors and all of those things that were being rehearsed, that felt really rehearsed to me rather than authentic. And that was the first thing that kind of perked me up a little more to say, okay, well, what's going to happen next? Like if this is already starting off like kind of awkwardly, how is this going to go? How is this going to transpire?
What's the
I
plan?
don't
Because there was a plan.
Right. I don't necessarily think that either side did phenomenal. I don't think Trump knocked it out of the park. I think he could have had, a few more. There were some statements that were made that I thought he could have came back a little heavier on. And I think, Kamala, it really felt like she was, like I said, performing those rehearsed um, talking points, and her rebuttals seemed rehearsed. Even it didn't sound like she was speaking from the heart, speaking from the gut, and going with talking to the American people. I think she was just going down the checklist of what they covered in debate camp is what it
Yeah,
felt like,
it was
at
a
least to
show.
me.
It was a
Right.
pre-play. This was a Broadway setup, which you would expect because that's all she really, in the past, has been able to handle. Uh, she didn't have her teleprompter, but there's also rumor out there that she may have still had more help. We can maybe put our foil hats on later and talk about that.
Right. Just go on if you have access to go on X. I highly
Go ahead.
suggest just taking a gander.
Just go ahead and do it. And check out,
Yeah,
do a
couldn't
little bit of
hurt.
searching on it. And there's some interesting things out there, and we're not going to talk about it because we don't wear tin hats. Well, we don't wear them every day, right, Ange? We wear them some days.
Just on Fridays. Just
Just
on
on Friday.
Fridays, guys.
It's Tin Hat Friday. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is some stuff out there on X, and there's some photos of, let's just say, close-ups of certain ears. Just saying.
Yeah.
So just check that out.
And we cannot confirm nor deny that that is an actual thing that happened, but considering all of how her speech transpired throughout the night, you have to question, was she did she know about the topics beforehand, which was not supposed to happen, or did an extra certain jewelry helping hand, magical fairy, who knows? It just didn't seem like something was off. You could tell something was off right from the beginning, and
Right.
Trump hit every single talking point. Oh, it's my dog. Sorry, if you hear barking,
Hey,
it's my
Blue.
dog. He's protecting us. Um,
From
so
the evil.
yeah, we'll
People
get to
that we don't
that.
talk
That
about
is
often.
coming. That is coming.
Right.
But
No, there was some help somewhere, something somewhere wasn't right.
right.
And considering that there was a tag team going on, which consisted of a moderator asking a question, then fact checking on the spot, and then turning it over to Ms. Harris for her follow up.
Who was not fact checked the entire night? I will say that.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, I mean, the network has been proven to be literally 100% negative versus 93%, or 100% positive versus 93% negative against the
Right.
the GOP. So, I mean, if you walked into this debate thinking for 1 second it was going to be anything less than what it was, you were foolish. But
It's ABC,
anyway,
people.
I digress. I digress. I I can't go there. My head still hurts. But
Right. What was your favorite part, Dad? Because I gotta know.
My favorite. I had two favorite parts. One
Okay.
was when President Trump used Harris's own remark from the Pence debate against her.
That was one of my tops
please
too.
wait, let me finish. And then said, sound familiar? I thought that was awesome.
Right, that was the nail in the coffin. Was
Yeah.
sound familiar?
Pure awesome. Sound familiar? And honestly, through the entire evening, again, you hit the high note. This was not a stellar performance for Donald. No doubt about it. It was if I can say it was what I would have anticipated because of the attacks and getting under his skin. I'm glad they didn't rile him more than they did, but they did rile him. My second favorite part was what I was screaming at the TV about all 90 minutes, which was hit her with, why haven't you done anything in 3.5 years, damn it.
Oh, with his final statement.
And that was his final statement. And I really liked the final statement was cohesive, well put together. It hit the notes that needed to be hit. And it was great that when they flipped the coin, he took the closing argument to be able to throw
that was a very strategic move, and we have talked about this in the past, guys. He is a strategic genius. Don't get it twisted.
Yep.
He knows what they're doing, and he acts accordingly. And you have to be able to do that as the commander-in-chief. Right. You have to be able to rise to the occasion wherever possible, get your message across, which I feel like he did. It could have been a little cleaner. Right. It could have been a little wrapped up a little nicer in a box, but it got out to the public. And, I think overall, my favorite part definitely was when he used her phrase against her. That had me laughing so hard. But right, my other favorite part, honestly, as awkward as it was the handshake at the very beginning, because it is so telling of a person walking into any situation where you're going into a job interview, a very important business meeting, anything of the like, where you have to seem confident, collected, and put together. And she felt very unsure of herself in that moment, and it showed. And I think that when you first walk out, you don't want to start the debate off with, oh no, is she nervous? Like, that is not what you're trying to convey to your voter base. So I don't really think she put herself out there on the greatest light from the get-go.
No,
but
I mean,
he came back with some jabs.
She kicked it off on a bad note, Ange. I mean, they came out in the first question out of the box, the economy and unemployment. Or forget the exact question. I need to roll that loop back myself and refresh the beginning. But that first question came out, and what does she do? She went off into a long thing. She started the attack. She started talking about,
right.
I grew up,
herself.
My mother had a job, and I was middle class. Bull.
She wasn't middle class. Just that's fact check.
Yeah. So we get into this tirade about that and the whole story, which we've also heard on the few campaign stumps she's made and speeches she's giving. It's a reoccurring theme. It goes along with the turn the page. We're not going back. We're going to turn the page. We're turning forward. We're moving forward. It's the same reoccurring taglines and themes that have come across in just about everything she has said. Although it's very limited how much she's gone out in public and done anything. So to come out and then it started out with not answering the first question, then not answering any question, and then every question that was asked before they could
was an attack.
It was turned into a turn stage right and hit the attack button, and then throw it back to the moderators to then throw it back to her to complete the attack. So it was a very it's exactly what I expected. Everybody that asked me what I thought the debate was going to be, it turned out to be. Again, as you hit it quite eloquently. I mean, it wasn't a stellar night for Donald, but it wasn't a bad night. And I think
he's had worse nights. In all honesty.
Yeah, and
he was prepared.
Have 3 against 1. What do you expect?
Right. I mean, everything that throughout the night they were asked some very difficult policy questions. And
which Donald did a better
each
job of
time,
answering.
right, each time that, President Trump went to answer, and congrats to him for staying on topic with the issues. He did go off topic in the rebuttals, which is to be expected. Everybody does. Kamala did that as well, but he stayed on course, which is so key in these debates because you could really go off the rails very quickly, and it's hard to get yourself back on the track. So, with immigration, he laid it out in black and white, pure and simple. This is what we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happened over the last 3.5 years with this person over here, second in command. This is how we are going to step in, and we are going to do everything in our presidential authoritative abilities to stop the influx of illegal immigrants from coming into our country, put higher restrictions on if you are caught in the United States, deportation, unless you have, the process started where you can verify that, yes, I'm working towards my visa or I'm working towards citizenship, something along those lines. He really dove into what has put him at the highest percentage of these issues that Americans are looking at week after week after week. You guys, we've talked about it every week, and we've seen it up until this point. All the major issues that voters are wanting to know about from these two candidates, Trump is winning light years ahead of his opponent in each category. So he stuck with the bullet points that mattered.
Right.
And then
There's
they sent it over to her to
basically care about.
Right.
And
they want the economy, they want the border. Right. He talked about what he's been talking about in every rally, at every news conference, at every podcast. Anytime he can get in front of someone to send his message, hopefully to someone that might not have heard it yet or might be on the fence about who they're going to vote for, he does it. And he talks about all of those issues in detail. And then when they get over to Kamala, her response is, well, I'm going to talk about a deal that we tried to pass in Congress that was bogus and was filled with loophole after loophole after loophole. There were so many people who were telling everyone, don't vote for this bill. Don't put this into legislation. She blames him, after all of that rhetoric, blames him for essentially for what's happening at the border, even though Donald J. Trump has not been in the White House in 3.5 years. And he made a good point. He stopped and said, let's stop this debate right now. You go to Washington. I'll even go with you. You have the authority right now to close that border down. And
like presidential,
that was like, right, that was mic drop number one, folks. Because if there's anything we have already known about Trump over the last almost a decade, is that this man is not afraid to call people out on their BS. And he does it with such tact that you almost don't even get mad because you're like, oh, maybe he is right.
Yep.
And he goes on to the next thing.
About the tariffs.
Yes. Oh my gosh. They kept the tariffs.
Same thing. They kept the tariffs. Now, he came back at her on a number of occasions. Why, if the tariffs are so bad, and if the money, the billions of dollars coming in from those tariffs from China were so bad, why don't you just do away with them?
Right.
Of course you kept them there. And at one point, that question was asked. He came back at it, and she just, there were look on her face. And didn't even
She had no response.
I'm not sure if her earpiece went out or her brain, she just had a brain fart. Something happened because she just... She went south of the border, and it wasn't to go to get a taco. So that moment was what I picked up on. That was one thing I picked up on. It was very like, okay, answer the question.
Right. What are you so afraid of? If you're wrong, just admit that you're wrong for what you said and move on.
Right.
Be the bigger person.
You come back and say, yeah, well, that is a case. We did keep the tariffs in place. I don't know. What do you want to do about that? But that was a key moment in trying to get something into the debate relating to the economy, something that's tangible and solid. And again,
Right.
no response. Um, what did you find out about the dogs and cats comment?
Oh, okay. So,
I know
I
you've looked into this.
actually,
I heard some things.
I have looked extensively, and I have gone down so many weird things. Okay, here's the basis of what I found. Are the Okay, so there's two parts to this. One is that there are illegal immigrants in this town in Ohio who are eating people's pets, who are cooking them and selling them to others, and all these crazy wild things. And then there's the second portion of
That's in Aurora,
what
right?
exactly. Say that again, Dad.
That's in Aurora, right?
No, the gang takeover is in Aurora.
Oh, that was
It's in
Aurora. The gang
Springfield,
takeover.
Ohio.
I got
Yeah.
backwards.
No, you're good. Um, the second part of it is we're getting at first when this story broke. Okay, it was not from a like a TikToker or a YouTuber or some news media that's trying to be the next CNN. Okay, this was from actual residents who lived in that town right now, who
Mm-hmm.
have witnessed this with their own eyes or seen suspicious behavior. What I did find out to be true, this was a police report, and you guys can go look this up. Police reports are, well, this one at least. um, it was
Do me a
posted
favor,
on.
Inch. If you can dig that up, send me a link to it. I'll post it on the channel. I'd like to see if
Okay,
have
I will
people
do that.
see where we're getting our stuff from and just read it for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I did see it at first on X, and I had to do a little bit of digging down the rabbit hole because if you guys are familiar with that platform, anything goes, which is wonderful most of the time. And in certain instances like this, when you're trying to find out what's real and what's not, it really isn't that helpful. So you kind of have to do a little digging. Case
Mm-hmm.
in point, I did my digging. What I found out from this report was that it was not necessary. There have been talks amongst the residents of cats and dogs, mainly cats, not necessarily dogs. But the police report stated that there were 3 illegal immigrants. They didn't necessarily classify them as Haitian, but they said that there is a park in Springfield that these ducks live, and the groundskeepers help keep them healthy. It helps the environment. It's good for the ecosystem, all those things. They saw 3 individuals, they didn't mention if they were male or female, who were seen taking ducks, catching the ducks out of this pond in this park and killing them, and then putting them in bags. And I don't necessarily know if they've apprehended these people or if anything is going to come to light from this. But it's very, very, very disturbing when you hear anything like this. And to hear actual accounts, that I actually sent you that video earlier this afternoon of a gentleman, and this is a YouTube video. He's an older gentleman. He runs a car repair service. He has his own channel on YouTube. Got on. I actually looked through his channel. He is a legit person who lives in Springfield, Ohio, who was basically going down all these details of what he has seen, what his neighbors are witnessing, what he's been dealing with in his own close community, on his block for his house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very disturbing when you think that there are children that live in these communities that are being subjected to these atrocities. We're hearing more and more every day about them coming into the DMV and getting a 45-day driver's license that they can renew every 45 days, and then going out and wrecking people's cars because they are unable
Yeah.
to drive for whatever reason, and it's creating more chaos as the days
Hey,
goes
Ange,
on. And
let's let's
yeah,
let's play that video real quick for the subscribers. Um,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to see what timing, how long that is. It's about
It,
a 10-minute long
it's a
video, so we won't play the whole thing. But let me just play a snippet of that.
okay.
This is off of YouTube, guys.
It looks like it's made national and international news about the Haitian migrants that has been thrust upon us here in Springfield, Ohio, because that is where I live. And I just wanted to address the issue a little bit because I've seen a lot of stuff on national news and a lot of YouTube content creators weighing in on this situation. And I've even seen where they've, because for whatever reason, some news outlets are showing videos that are really not from here or have anything to do with the Haitian migrants here or about what they do. And it kind of irritates me that because this is a small town, so there's not like a bunch of videos that people like stop with their phones and start recording stuff when they see it. It's just not that kind of a place. So there isn't a whole lot of video evidence of this stuff happening, and the fact that some news outlets are using videos that have nothing to do with this town, and then everybody's saying, well, this is a nothing burger, it's fake news. Well, I am a resident of Springfield, Ohio, and it is not fake news. There is an issue with them because we have in our local park, they literally have ducks down there that the park takes care of, and it's where they live, and they are being killed and eaten. And as far as people's personal pets, I've heard stories, but I can't answer to that personally because I don't know. But I can tell you, because this is a car channel, I do car content, I can approach this story from the car issue. And when I say that, I mean their driving issues. I've witnessed this. They literally, and they have to have a translator wherever they go. They literally have been in the DMV where, like, I go and get my license plates renewed, and it's also where you get your license, obviously. And they literally have a translator, and they show up with a piece of paperwork that grants them driving privileges with no proof that they can actually drive, just that they're of age. It gives them driving privileges for 45 days, and then in 45 days they can go back and renew it, and they never have to show proof of how competent.
All right. Well, I'm going to
There you
stop
have
right
it,
there, and I
folks.
do want to thank that provider, that YouTube provider. I'm going to post the information on our channel on this video, so y'all can go check out the entire video. It's about 10 minutes long, but as Angie said, this is a guy on the ground who's, and again, immigrants, we're not talking about, everybody thinks when you talk about illegal immigrants, as the president has said, it's not just people coming across the Mexican border from Mexico. They're coming from everywhere. Right. And when I go to the DMV, when I came to Florida, and I went to DMV, and my lovely wife went to DMV, and we had to have 8,000 documents, 14 reams of this, that, the other thing, proof of that, the other thing, and thing down the road to get one driver's license turned into a local driver's license. Hello there. And apparently, if you are a immigrant, whether you are illegal or legal, you can just step in and hit the road. And this is the problem we have with people being killed left and right. These people can't even have to prove they have to drive, or they can do whatever they want, and they get on the road. So that's a problem. And then the duck situation, as you said, there's stories further on that maybe or may not can be substantiated, but this is taking place in some shape or form. So that's what I'll do. Like I said, I'll post this to a very good video, and this gentleman is just trying to set the, give the straight story from somebody that's literally on the ground, and that these things are taking place, and the things that the president
Right.
has talked about over and over and over again. These people are coming in this country. They are killing. They are raping the women and children. Things are doing to children and all that. We see it all the time. When there's a wreck down here, it turns into a DUI wreck. The question is, you know, bet's pretty high who it is or what group they come from. And again, not trying to stereotype, not trying to be mean, not trying to be
No.
anything other than just factual. It is what it is. It is a problem.
Right.
And
These residents that live in Springfield and Aurora as well, let us not forget about those innocent residents who are dealing with this atrocity in their neighborhood. These residents did not have a say in any of this happening to them whatsoever. Let's not forget that. They woke up one day living their lives. Everything was great. Kids are going back to school. Next thing we know, here come 20,000 migrants into our small town. And I don't know if a lot of you know how small Springfield is. It is very small in comparison to some of the larger cities in Ohio. There are not an absorbent amount of jobs for people and or places of residence for all of these migrants that are flooding in unbeknownst to them, and now they are living with these horrendous, nightmarish horror stories of their ducks being slaughtered for food, and these are only what's just coming to light now.
Right.
It's not to say that the cats and the dogs thing is true or not true. I'm sure as this progresses and more people start to feel comfortable coming out and speaking their truth, I think we're going to find out a lot more about what's going on. But
and in this world of social media, it'll come out, and there will be videos of it. It won't take long. Everybody and their grandmama will whip out a camera and take a picture if they see something, so it'll come out. As many things that the president has said and have been told nothing more than a lie. It turns out to be quite factual when it's convenient to be released. So I think more of this.
I want to get to the biggest lie of all. I was talking to. I was just saying, like, speaking of her lies, I feel like that was that. Well, not necessarily. Well, it is what it is. It was a lie, but the fact that the moderators tried to fact check and be wrong on the fact check was really just. It's an insult to journalism. Let's just put it that way. It's an insult to these journalists who have worked their entire career to get to a level, or even try to get to this high of a level, and to be so brazen as to say, well, we talked to so-and-so, that's not true, and just leave it at face value is absolutely not what journalism is about. And it's not what a moderator should do in these debates. Case in point, when they got to the topic of abortion, and we knew this was going to come up. This is what Kamala has been championing for this entire campaign of hers, however short it may have be thus far. When Trump was blatantly asked, are you going to put a nationwide ban on abortion, which he quickly said, absolutely not. That is not what he's been about. And then went on to discuss how, Roe v. Wade was overturned and it was moved into a state issue where the citizens of that state could vote on what they would like for their state. At towards the end of that initial 2 minutes that Trump got, he mentioned about the I hate to say types of abortion, but the different stages of an abortion, and how early term versus extremely late term, and he mentioned after birth. Now, when I said earlier, could he have wrapped it up in a little bit better of a package? Absolutely, and this was that.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely true. And for those of you who may not have been aware, as so many people aren't, including our vice president and both of the moderators, I'm going to give you guys a little fact check right now in case you haven't really done a deep dive. I do this all the time. I love it. I found something very interesting that I think everybody should be aware of, especially if you are watching with us tonight and you are still not entirely decided. This goes to you. Abortion
goes to you.
Goes to you guys. Listen up.
You people listening.
Listen up. Post-birth abortions in the state of Minnesota. Who's from Minnesota, Dad?
I don't quite recall. Could you help me remember?
Oh, Walls? Anybody?
There you go.
Okay.
That's why you
so
get
the
all the
governor,
big bucks.
Right, the governor of Minnesota signed legislation into law in that state saying that abortions that are carried out extremely late term within the last trimester of pregnancy, if a baby survives the abortion, meaning they conduct the abortion, they pull the baby out, and the baby is still breathing in any capacity, they do not, under any circumstance, they are not obligated, I should say. That was what was worded in the legislation. They are not obligated as a medical professional to provide any medical assistance to the newborn, which means after that baby was born and it's struggling to survive because it just survived the most harrowing thing of an abortion attempt, they lay that baby down wherever and they let it suffocate and die.
Just let it die.
That's what that means. So post-term abortion, like after the baby's already been delivered, is absolutely a factual thing. And Tim Walz signed it into law in the great state of Minnesota, folks. So yes, the moderators were wrong. Kamala Harris is wrong. Whoever was, working with her
they weren't
on
wrong.
that.
They just lied. They just out lied. Everyone knows
they said it's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. Therefore, if we say it's not true, therefore it never happened. Like saying that Trump is signing a national abortion ban.
He is absolutely not.
A national abortion law. No, he absolutely is not. And there is no such thing. The closest thing to a national abortion law was the decision under Roe v. Wade, which the Supreme Court overturned. And to say he stacked the cards at the Supreme Court to do that, well, I have news for you, Kamala. Every president has the right, and many presidents have had, including Democratic presidents, and let's go back and do a little history lesson if we need to, teach you a little bit about your own party, have put multiple justices in place and have pushed a liberal agenda. The problem is with them today is that the Democrats did not have the liberal left, far left-leaning agenda they have today. So those justices weren't making the kind of decisions that you want them to make today. One being
they were on their team.
Right.
Here's what she doesn't realize. The Supreme Court is not meant to be on a team. Newsflash, justice woman, prosecutor, they are there to be a unbiased voice of reason in the highest judicial seat in our United States of America. That's why they exist in the first place, because they get proposed with insurmountable, crazy things such as the abortion, such as gay marriage, such as, there's so many countless things. It takes them 3 times as long as the average attorney to go through all of the documentation, all of the subpoenas, everything that they need to do to come up with a consensus that is fair and just. That is their only function. So to say that someone stacked them and they're rooting for your team, that is not how that works. It hasn't worked like that. You can, you can say, well, in certain instances, they might lean a little more liberal or a little bit more conservative. It depends on what's in front of them, what the case is at that time. They do it by a case-to-case basis, not an overall political affiliation.
Right. And the fact is that
it just goes to show how dumb.
Yeah, go ahead.
It goes to show. I almost said dumb, but it's not. How oh god, how ill-educated she really is at this high of a level.
Right. Correct. And again, it comes down to no matter what party sits in the White House, what party is in control, when they don't get their way from a Supreme Court ruling, it's going to be blamed back on the administration to whom made the appointment in the first place. And they didn't like the fact.
Oh yeah, Bush was. They did that Trump, to Bush.
They've done it. This has been This is not new. This is not new news. They're very displeased with the decision that was made with respect to presidential immunity. But what they also forget about is that doesn't just apply to this potential president. That decision applies
any
to
president.
any sitting president. So watch what you ask for, or watch what you don't ask for, because if it doesn't bite you now, it will bite you later. And Ange, I found something that just I'm a little confused by. I'm going to show you a picture here if you don't mind. It's off topic here, but does this look familiar to you? You seeing that?
I've heard conflicting reports that her earrings were Tiffany earrings with a pearl. And until I see like a detailed up close, like a kind of like how they do on Amazon where you get multiple pictures and you know you can really do a zoom in. I think then we'll be able to determine it, but it is very suspicious looking. I will give you that. Yeah. Very suspicious looking.
Even if it's not, for someone who is so for the middle class and is so concerned about people not being able to buy groceries and not being able to buy a home and all these things, wow, she does pretty well for herself, doesn't she? Tiffany?
Well, her husband's a lawyer, you know.
Well, and most politicians come into office, making, $100,000, $150,000 salary and leave multimillionaires, But we'll talk about that in another episode.
Right, that's a whole other episode.
That's a whole other can of worms and a rabbit hole that we can talk about.
Oh, I could do that for a long time. And there's so much history in that too, but
yeah.
I do agree. I think if you're running on the I am you and you are me and we're all together in this, and if you're trying to come across as like an average American to the masses, you don't necessarily want to glitz and glam yourself to the moon.
You have to remember what could be is unburdened by what has been.
Oh my goodness. If we could just get ourselves unburdened from this drama fest, that would be fantabulous. Can't wait till November, you guys.
I need to be unburdened. Deburdened. Hey, let's move a little bit further down into, we're coming up on our hour and a half. Oh man, we're clicking through this. This is awesome. We're having a good night.
Yeah.
I'm hoping everybody's having fun. I know we are. Bam. Polls.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I picked up a couple things, and I wanted to bring it up because I know you do the deep dive. You are the person in charge of the poll dive, deep poll dive.
Oh boy.
And the one thing and I'm still digging. I have to be honest. I got home an hour and a half before we started to stream. Got in the house from work after an hour on the interstate. My lovely wife was kind enough to cook me dinner, and then I'm still trying to piece together everything to make sure that I'm on cue with what's actually happening out there. So thank God Angie's out there doing all the her deep diving.
I'm trying my best. I was up till midnight last night, and
I was yeah. Ooh,
it was a late one. But go ahead, Dad. Sorry. Go ahead.
And I've got launches on my other YouTube channel will be following at. I think I've got to be up at 3:30 in the morning for the one of two. So yeah, we keep busy around here.
Oh boy.
We keep busy.
Oh yeah.
Papa D doesn't have much time. Sleeping's for there's plenty of time to sleep when you're dead.
Sleep exactly. Sleep when you're dead. You got too much to live for.
Sleep when you're dead. I caught bits and pieces, and I'm actually trying to piece together, and I'm going through Clear Politics now. But
Okay.
is it factual to say that the poll coming out of the, I don't mention names, but the network that hosted the event, their initial polls were showing a big surprise. They're showing that Kamala had won, if anybody can win something like that.
Shocker.
But then we're showing that the center line, independent, and voters that they had been polling, it really didn't move anything. And if it did, it moved the polls, the needle a little bit further north towards Trump camp.
Yeah, I am seeing that too.
Do you see that too? Okay.
Yeah. So I will start out with the polls by saying this. So typically the first 24 hours after any type of event, such as yesterday's, you're not really going to get anything too accurate until maybe 5 or 6 days. There's I don't know how to explain it. There's like different factors that go into how they poll, how they do a roundup poll, who they're able to poll, where they're able to go and do these polls, and how long it takes to generate all of them together into one percentage for the candidate versus another candidate. So right now, I did probably 5 or 6 different platforms, websites to try to figure out where everybody's sitting, who's been polling, because not everybody was polling today. Right. So that was a little bit of a rough one. What I did find out is this. So right now in the odds factor, if you're a big odds person, Trump has still a very large upper hand. He has a 64% chance of winning as of yesterday.
Winning
and that
the electoral
was
college.
Right.
Correct? Okay. Keeping
yes.
it separate
and
looking at the electoral college vote versus the raw vote count.
Right. Nationally, it shows Kamala ahead, but here's the kicker. Anything less than 1% is essentially tied within the margin. So what I'm...
Show that real quick while you're talking, Ange. Yep. I'm going to bring you back in. Sorry about that. I cut you off. You there?
1.1.
There you go.
Yeah. Do not take the 1.1s and the ones as really anything other than like really leaning more towards a tie at this point. What I've been noticing is, and we've been really focusing on these swing states, you guys, because this is what is going to win the election for either side. Right now, it's kind of a mixed bag, but I do predict that even though everyone's touting, some people are touting that Kamala won and others are touting that Trump did, far better last night. The consensus overall has not really shifted either way. It's pretty much stuck within, a tie to maybe at best 2%. I have not seen a single swing state that is above 2% for either party as of right now.
Everything. This
Trump
is even money right now.
Oh, it is a nail biter, you guys. And here, I'll get through these few little swing states that I was able to find that they had polling. And then I want to say something really important for everybody. Arizona and Georgia are up above 1%. So at least 1.2, 1.3 is what I mean by that for Trump. Harris in Nevada is less than 1%. So it's a point, I think it was a 0.6% ahead, which is essentially tied. Pennsylvania and North Carolina are absolutely dead heat. Like there's no little tenth of a point towards one or the other. So that is a huge, huge deal. And here's the reason why. So at this point in the election cycle, typically what we see from either candidate is not a runaway lead necessarily, but a substantial lead within not necessarily the swing states, but overall in the popular vote. It's right. The case of what we saw with Hillary versus Trump. Okay, Hillary looked so good on paper, and then everything just kind of, went to the wayside on election day. We're kind of seeing that same exact trend right now. The only difference is that it is so tied, and she is not edging above him. That is key. If you want to come out and say, these are my policies, this is what I'm going to do, this is where we're going to go rally and campaign, this is where we're going to put all our money into for these different states, these different districts that are trying to get those undecided voters from, right. You should at least at this point have a few points, and I'm talking solid 3, 4, 5 points above your opponent at this point. The fact that she has not been able to edge above Trump at all is very telling, because the closer we get to November 5th, I don't necessarily, and I know this is a stretch, I don't necessarily know if she can keep this up.
Well, think about this.
For the next couple of weeks.
As you said, she's barely holding water. We've got a 50-50, it's even money on this thing right now, no matter how you play it, because of the tightness on the percentages and what the polls are showing. We'll have a very thin margin of independents and undecided that are beginning to show, as they were actually live polling during the debate. It wasn't helping her at all. That wasn't moving there. Mm-mm. She just came off the DNC, their convention, with basically right. with a bump.
Star-studded musical spectacular.
The big concert show, and got nothing out of it. Actually, Trump saw a bump on her convention, on the Democratic convention. Trump has been prosecuted with lawfare to the nth degree, and just recently was hit with a rehash on the one case, repackaged and then being tried again, no effect, and a debate that the media and all the darlings out there are saying she won, which I'm not arguing she had. However she did it, she put on a good performance. And the day after, again, a little early, like you said, I think tomorrow was in the next 24 to 48 hours or 36 hours. We're going to have some poll activity.
Right. We're going to start to see a few come out.
But all these events, major events, any single event would put a 3 to 5 to 7 point bump in any campaign. And nothing. Crickets. So I agree
she's barely holding on.
She's hanging on. How is she hanging on, Ange? In my opinion, she's hanging on solely because the media is pushing. They got their feet on the gas as hard as they can to keep, foot on the gas to keep the motor turning so air keeps getting pumped into the balloon.
Right.
And when that stops, or if that were to stop, the bottom falls out.
Oh, absolutely. If one catastrophic scandal, if one slip up of a misstep or anything like that, it's done. And that is a very risky rope to walk this far in, because you're literally putting all of your chips on the fact that you're hoping the American people are blind to the truth and don't have the intuition to go educate themselves like we have been preaching this entire time, to say, maybe I don't feel like I know enough about this. Maybe I need to know a little more so I feel a little bit more confident in my choice. They are banking that nobody in America is going to do that. And that's really dangerous, because if you're not coming out with a clear vision for your campaign, then what are you doing? And like you said earlier, Dad, Trump had the final mic drop of the night when he said, you've had 3.5 years. You talk about doing all these things. Why have you not done any of that for the last 3.5 years? And what's really telling, that we're just now starting to see this week, I don't know if you've noticed this, Dad, but I have absolutely noticed it on network after network, and predominantly liberal-sided networks are now coming out and saying, you know what, like, maybe this isn't like the greatest. Maybe she's not doing so good. She's not doing well in the polls. They're giving credit where credit's due to Trump's campaign team. It's very odd.
It's very odd. And think back to 2016. At this point, 54 days before the election, there was not anyone who thought Trump was going to win that election. I mean, those
everybody was Team Hillary all the way.
And hopeful. But it was not. I mean, you're talking Hillary being up by, was it 7 to 9 points? And I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but it was a huge. There was no way in hell she wasn't going to win the White House. We know what happened.
Right.
Do you think the media is willing to take a spin on part deux with Kamala Harris?
I don't think so. I think with as much as they're struggling to get viewership, I don't think they can afford to be wrong for round 2. And it's kind of like there's this thing people say that, like, if you can't, I hate to even say it like that, but if you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
I think that's how the media is starting to turn right now. They know that, okay, there are, like we spoke about in, I think it was last episode, there are tiny little pinprick holes in the bubble. And after last night, those pinholes are starting to tear. And the longer this goes on, and the longer she stays away from answering those tough questions to the media and addressing in a formal
news conferences,
right, getting herself out there, putting her message out there to the reporters, I think if she continues down that path, which from what I'm understanding, everybody is pretty much under the assumption that she's going to stick with what works, which is not talking to anyone. If she sticks with that, I don't really think she has a shot in this fight anymore. It's not enough for you to go and put something on your website now when you could have done it when you were chosen, by your party.
And everything she's putting on the website, every position she's taking now is a complete 180-degree turn from what position she took in the past. I mean, the rolling video of her talking about fracking, talking about defunding the police. She denies everything today, and they can walk it back and prove that she's flip-flopped. So, yeah, I think they're hedging their bets. The media already looks horrible for what they've done and what they've allowed to happen. I think they're hedging their bets for, we don't want to have an election night that we've got to have our newscast people, losing their minds like they did back in 2016 and being surprised.
Well, they could all be crying.
Oh, people! You remember the videos of people crying. People just these people on the news outlets losing their minds. The people at the best one is the canceling the fireworks. We can't go. We're not going to go back to 2016. Talk about that election. That was Party Central. But yeah, they're in a position where I think everyone has to use their common sense. And if you look at the raw polling numbers directly related to the possibilities and looking at the swing states where they fall right now, and as you said, Ange, the tightness of the race in those swing states, we can be looking at a 300 plus electoral win.
Absolutely.
Now,
And
one thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm not going to go deep into this. We really need to have a separate deal for this. I've been doing a lot of deep diving because there's been comments made about what will happen if the president wins the election. And there's been talk about the ways that the powers that be are planning on blocking this. So this gets a little bit more into the tin hat stuff, but it's legit that it could happen. There's been comments made that they might refuse to seat him. So we can talk about that. I think you and I need to kind of get together. I wanted to bring that up to the subscribers, to the viewers, and there are the fact that the numbers are what the numbers are, the polling numbers and the electoral college numbers, potential electoral college numbers are what they are, doesn't mean that a win is a battle won. And there are powers that are looking very hard at ways to, I'm sorry, but the best way I can put it is to circumvent the Constitution.
It's political warfare.
It's
Absolutely.
political warfare and using the and just ignoring the Constitution is what it would be. Sorry about that. They made comments, and Kamal made comments last. Of course, they dug into the January 6th stuff, and they're ignoring the fact that of what the man said and how he put it. He did not incite a riot. They're ignoring the fact that the Speaker of the House at that time, she was offered and refused and admitted on camera, but an act by Congress or by a faction within Congress that would block the seating of a duly elected president. And think about this, folks. This is not BS. This is no joke.
It is
Kamala
absolutely
Harris,
possible.
as president of the Senate, has been the 51st vote and the deciding vote on many occasions already. If this goes to the way we anticipate and hope that it will go, and the formality that happens is then goes the election is certified, and if it comes down to one vote, and it just happens to be his opponent, and that president is not seated, you tell me how this goes down. You tell me how this ends up.
Well, first and foremost, if that does come to fruition, and that is a big if, it is possible.
Again,
absolutely,
this is way
is it
out
possible?
there.
Yes.
I'm not saying this is a
But
Papa D thinking outside the box, but in the reality of how the system works and what could happen.
Right. Here's the thing. Think about this when you guys, and I think I'm down to do this episode because I really feel like in the spirit of educating our viewers, I think it's absolutely essential to get those facts out and descriptions out. And I would love to do that. But I think most importantly, other than the fact that if that did happen, it would be catastrophic, first of all, it would absolutely go to prove to the American people that she is not for unity, as she claims, and she is not for the peaceful transfer of power, as she claims, as her party claims, right? So if you want to promote all of this throughout the entirety of your campaign, and if there's a potential that you could do the exact opposite and not certify the election, it makes you everything that you said you weren't, a bold-faced liar, and it proves to the American people that this is what she was about, potentially the entirety of the campaign.
Right.
It's going to take the American people's confidence in the government down even further. They're not going to trust anybody anymore. And it's so detrimental to the young voters who this might be their first time to vote. And then all of this could transpire. I mean, that's just terrible.
Right. for an election, a duly elected president to result a duly elected president in a election to cause a constitutional crisis. That word's thrown around a lot on Capitol Hill. This is going to happen to be a constitutional crisis. This would be something that this country has never seen, has never experienced. So I say this only for one thing. Again, we'll talk about this in more detail. This gets more into the I have to say conspiratorial area because but although it's not,
well,
it is factual. It could take
not
place.
really, because it is actually possible that it could happen. Like,
it could happen.
Very
and it's
possible.
already been discussed. Democrats on Capitol Hill have talked about it and said, there's, we can say that, they can say that he was charged with and found guilty of crimes against the state, and based on that, they could refuse to seat him. It causes a complete meat grinder of a problem, but it is out there. It is a problem. And the only reason I bring that up again is because, as you said, Ange, how many times has Donald Trump been asked the question by the media,
right,
whether he would agree and follow through with a transfer of power if he were not to win? Okay, now the questions are coming out. Well, if you were to win, would the party on the other side of the aisle go along with their constitutional responsibilities? The answer, it sounds like, could be a resounding no. So it's just something that really needs to be thought about. It's something and again, my main reason, my main point, I get back to my main point for even bringing this up, is that y'all got to vote. I pray that people, both sides of the aisle, but don't sit back and say, well, the polls are saying that things are looking really good and we can just let this thing ride. I can sit home. It was raining out that night. I don't got time for this. There's plenty of other people that are going to vote. Good news for you, people.
It takes everyone.
It takes everyone, and it has to be a resounding win. It cannot be it's going to be litigated no matter what. The Democrats have already said they've got in excess of 200 lawyers already charged up and ready to roll. You talk about this thing being litigated. No matter what the results are, it's going to be there's going to be litigation flying around.
Oh yeah,
and
the paperwork is going to be drawn up and ready before Election Day.
Yeah, they're ready to fire it to the presses. They're ready to roll, and I think both sides. You have both sides sitting here saying, well, whatever the other side does, we're just going to have to go, play lawgate and just run it that way. It's going to happen, but for it to get down to where, if let's just say it's a tight, I think what we're going to have, there is a potential for the popular vote to go one way and the Electoral College certainly to go the other. And I think personally that's how it's going to end up.
I do too. I was just about to say, I think that's the future we're looking at, people.
That's the likely scenario. So now you're going to have, that's where everybody gets lawyered up and everything starts happening. And that's the perfect scenario for when the Senate has to certify the election. And the Senate, we've got a tight race in the Senate with, who's going to control the Senate. And right now, we don't. And prior to the certification process, it could be a real-world issue that would come out. And it's something we all need to think about when we all make the decision to leave the House head to the polls or in the next few weeks. Send in those ballots.
Right.
Mail-in ballots, because it's starting.
Especially if you... Right. I was just about to say that. Especially those of you guys who live in states where early voting is starting, in some cases, earliest of next week. If you, for any reason, if you're working, if there's childcare issues, speak with your family, try to work out something that way. Or you don't have to necessarily vote early. You can still go on Election Day. Just plan ahead. There's plenty of polling centers in your area. They put plenty of them out there. I know I'm eligible at least like 7 or 8 that I can choose from in my area, whatever, I'm closest to at that day, at that time. Plan ahead.
Depends on
You're
where
going
you
to be
are.
in line. Right. I think what we're going to see on election day for sure is very reminiscent of what we saw in 2016 when we had people lining up outside for hours and hours and hours just to be able to vote. I think we're going to see a very similar situation to that, which is great because you know what that tells us, Dad? That tells us that a lot of people paid attention. They feel strongly in their convictions and they are ready to get in those polling centers and they're ready to cast those ballots.
Yeah.
And that is what's most important. That's why we have this election. It is up to us. We are the catalyst.
Yep. And I agree with you. And that's something that your mother and I talked about. We were going to do. We've never voted via mail, early voted. We've never done that. I now live in a beautiful part of the world, which I love being in. And we are in a small town atmosphere, and I go to our local emergency building, I believe is what they call it. It's by one of the firehouses. But anyway, it was refreshing. We had our local election primaries and things here not too long ago, and refreshing to walk in where you walk up to the paper booth, the cardboard little booth, and you put your choice on a piece of paper. And that piece of paper gets scanned in and handed over, and it makes you feel like we've gotten back to a point where your vote actually can count and not be
mishandled
funny stuff. On Election Day, I agree with you. It's going to be, I believe, an overwhelming show of people on both sides. And again, this is going to let's get back into what the original, what we kind of start the thought of this channel with. It's clear whose team we're on. I'm not going to sit here and mince words. It's true. We know who we don't trust, and it's not to say that in the next election cycle we may trust someone else, and that may not be in the party we're in.
That is true. We are not exclusive to one party till we die. That's
right. I'm a registered Republican. Okay? Always have been. There have been 2 cases in my life where I didn't vote the party.
Right.
It can happen.
And that happens. And that's okay.
But we want people to vote. And we want to implore people.
Right.
Anybody that watches our stream, our show, has to understand, we have our preference. We're going to sit here and tell you what we think. And we're going to critique what we see, and we're going to throw lobs at both sides. But
absolutely. They're both running for president. It's only fair.
Yeah, it's clear who we're up to bat for. We just want you to make sure that everyone exercises that right. There are going to be people out there that are going to put in votes in the states that he can still be on the ballot for RFK. Now, he's clearly out of the race, and there's all kinds of legal issues going on right now about getting him off ballots, getting him out of states that he doesn't want to be in and all that, and that's something we can talk about later.
Right.
But whether you're voting for RFK, or you're voting for Bernie, or you're voting for whoever you're voting for, you got to exercise your right. And we hope it goes our way. The same as someone that's watching this show would say, well, I don't agree with the damn thing you're saying. We want it to go our way. Well, you know what? That's what's called democracy. And
and that's okay. You absolutely have that right to say, this is my person. Right. How many of your ancestors, my ancestors, people who have lived here and fought in all these wars, they have fought and died for you to be able to continuously have the right every election cycle to vote. And if you're a woman, it is especially important for you because women didn't always have the right to vote. But guess what? We do now. And we absolutely will get to those polls.
Yeah, women didn't have the right. Minorities did not have the right. African Americans couldn't cast a vote.
Look at us now.
People that are legally entitled to vote, and we implore you to register in time.
Yes.
Because there is a window, and it goes by where you live. Talk to your county officials. Please put in the effort. Learn, teach yourself what's going on, what you think your candidate is or isn't. Your sister, my youngest daughter, had conversation with a bunch of young folks where she works, and my wife was telling me about it, and they were completely 100% going for a certain team. And she took a few minutes and said, "Hey, have you done your research?
Right.
Here's the skinny on what that person is about." And I haven't talked to her to get the whole story, but paraphrasing it, and they all went, "Oh my," or maybe not all, but some of them that she was speaking with.
Well, I think
"Oh
a
my, I
lot of
didn't
people
know."
just
People
did
don't know.
not
They
realize how deep this actually goes.
right, and listening to the
I
media
don't
is
think
not
there's
the
been
answer.
enough coverage.
Well, if
Right.
you
Oh,
watch the
no,
big box
no.
networks that are always going to back one side, not the other, then you're only going to hear. It's like that network that
One side.
held last night. They would fact check, or they fact checked, but they researching.
Well, they
found
did
out
fact
that-
check.
Well, they fact checked, but they found out when talking about the candidates, Kamala gets 100% positive comments, nothing negative, and Trump gets 93%. Yeah, 93% negative.
Negative. Mm-hmm.
So if you are only turning on the national news channels, if you are only turning on the channels that maybe your mom and dad or your grandma and grandpa watched all these years, there's so much more information out there that you can really enlighten yourself with what the truth is.
Right, like we did earlier when we showed that video, Dad. It's case in
Absolutely.
point. It's that type of stuff. You hear all these wacky headlines, and you're thinking, "Gosh, that can't possibly be right."
Right.
So our natural instinct as humans is to explore out of curiosity and figure out what really is happening. And if it's
Right.
not, if that was actually founded not to be true, I would absolutely say that. I would tell you guys, hey, look,
Right.
this is some crazy stuff. It is absolutely not true. Do not
Right.
believe what you're seeing. It is not the truth. Don't take this
Paraphrase
as
my
fact.
president, we don't promulgate fake news. And that's why I was
No,
asking you.
there's
I've
no
read
reason.
some stories. You've read some stories. There's still more digging to be
Right.
found. But get out there. People will go out and spend a bunch of time Googling to find out what the most popular song, the best outfit, the best Chinese food, or where the best pizza is. But they don't take time to go out and do a little research and listen to different opinions and then go to verify on their own before they cast a vote. And we take that very seriously. When you pull that handle or turn in that paper or put that paper in that machine, man, that's your one vote. That's your one shot. Unless you're an illegal that's got multiple IDs, which I've been hearing a lot of stories around here about that recently also. There's an individual from, I believe, Mexico or Venezuela, a woman who's voted a number of elections illegally and is going to jail for it. They're starting to cull through some of the rolls now.
Well, good.
Clean this up, and they should. Should have been done a long time ago.
You break the law, you pay the price. That's
Right.
just
If you come here,
that's how we do
go,
things in America.
Yeah, if I go to France, or pick a country, whatever country, and I show up on election day, and I hand them a fake ID, or I hand them my American ID and say, "Hey, I'm voting in your election." What's going to happen to me?
Heck no.
Y'all be making what's that platform where you can donate money? You'll be donating money to get me bailed out of a foreign. Yeah, you're going to be GoFunding my butt out of the foreign jail.
Right.
But here,
or worse, that's if they even put you in the jail. Depending on what country you try that in, you might not make it out of that country ever.
Might not make it out of the parking lot. In our country,
with a pulse,
because of the federal law that was put in place by Clinton, every time you go, and if you haven't noticed this, you haven't paid attention. When you go to get a driver's license, they have to give you voter registration paperwork, or so you can register. When I came to Florida, went and did my deal, turned in our stuff, did all our things, get our driver's licenses switched over, and part of that paperwork was, hey, do you want to register to vote? And
right, they did that to me, Dad, when I updated my license after I got married and changed my last name and updated my license. They offered that to me. It's customary to do that because if your name is changing, clearly or your address, you have to update your voter registration
You
so
have to update your
you're
voter
able to
registration.
vote in the right district. Right.
And that is something that was put in place again by Clinton, was signed into law by Clinton. I wish I had the notes in front of me, what law that was, but if y'all want to know, I can dig it up. It's out there. But it has it has a yin and a yang. The good part of it is, in our case, I went in, I had to do paperwork for another thing. They said, hey, while you're here, we did the paperwork. I signed up. Boom, boom, boom. Got my voter registration card. Now I can vote. I can vote in my new home, here at my new home. Not in my new home, my new town.
Yeah.
That's the upside. The downside is, if you're an illegal alien and you come in and you get yourself, we don't have this problem in Florida, but there are a lot of places, one being what we saw in that video. Okay? You come in, you get a 45-day license, and guess what? They're going to hand you paperwork and say, hey, you want to register? Well, I mean, it doesn't matter that you can't drive, you're not here legally, you can't even prove you don't have a green card, you don't have paperwork, a proper visa, but you can, by the fact that the law is in place that requires the county to then provide voter registration information, well, guess what? Now you have a pool of illegal voters.
Right.
Potentially.
I think what we should have added, typically the Democrats. But I will say this. I think going forward, I know they had the bill that they were introducing to protect the rights of voters. I think we should add, the voter ID law. I think we should add, I'm not sure, I'll have to do some looking on that. If they've added any clause into that bill about if it is a temporary driver's license, not a permanent driver's license as a resident, that you still are not able to show up to a polling place and use that temporary 45-day ID to vote. I think they should do something about putting that in there, because that would solve all of that.
Right. It needs to be clarified. I mean, right now in Florida, when you get a new driver's license, remember the voter ID thing? I mean, the voter ID. The real ID.
And yes, we have that here in Tennessee as well.
Right. And I don't know what they're doing up there in Tennessee now. When I was there, you had an option, whether you wanted to get the little gold star and provide all your documents.
Right. Here, pretty soon, it will be mandatory to have the only IDs that they will be issuing going forward is the real IDs for, name changes, updates, all that thing. But in order to, and I know this is really nationally, it's becoming more popular, to fly, to do a lot of things that require your driver's license, it has to be a real ID or they will not consider it a valid identification.
Yeah, and one thing,
which is good. I think that's an extra layer of safety.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I never had a problem with it. I didn't have it before I moved. And each of the states, they had their own. I know Tennessee pushed it back a number of times because of the logistics of putting it in place and all that. When we came down to Florida, that was just bring your documents. You're getting, you get a DL, you're getting a real ID. So we got the little fancy little star there, and that's all.
I think though, Dad, I think Florida was a lot quicker to implement that because they are a border state. Right.
Yeah.
Those border states have to get on top of that stuff real quick.
And that's my point. If you have to provide all this documentation under federal law, federal mandate, because I think there was big penalties federally if the states did not move on it and adopted the real ID, which is just basically proving you're a citizen. Show your birth certificate. Show that you belong here legally, and then you can, it's akin to sort of kind of having a passport stamp on your driver's license is what I always kind of said. It's not
pretty
really
much
right. But
I mean, and even if you are you are an immigrant, you came into this country, you went through the proper channels, you got your documentation, and you are now legally a United States citizen, you can absolutely use that paperwork to get that real ID. It is not just for I was born in the United States. It is for everyone with legal residence that says, "Hey, I
Legal
am
status.
here legally." Right. Anybody
Yeah,
who's legal should not be having those real IDs. Period.
right. And that's my point.
Period.
I'm getting, where I kind of went the long way around here. I really digressed and took the long road home, but it's a 2 point thing for me. If we have this law and we have to provide all the documentation to prove who we are and where we're from,
Mm-hmm.
to then have our identification prove who we are and where we're from, if we want to travel, get on a plane, get on a train or whatever,
Right.
then why do we not have? Sorry about that. My camera keeps timing out I wish I could figure out why it's doing that. I think I think my camera needs a nap. But yeah, if we need that for that purpose, why is there such of a pushback at the federal level? Well, I know the reason. I'm going to answer my own question. A pushback at the federal level to not require the same ID to vote. And if the states are
Right.
adopting and have to adopt this real ID, then show the real ID that you have to get on an airplane or a train or whatever to cast a vote as a citizen. If you do that, then the problem has now solved itself. But the reason,
Exactly.
and answering my own question, the reason that there is a pushback to not allow for verifying who you are when you walk into a polling place, is because the whole purpose, or not the whole purpose, but a big purpose of illegal immigration is to populate and create new voters. Now, as those
Oh, yes.
voters either get naturalized, as those illegal aliens get naturalized, or if a federal law gets passed unilaterally bringing them into
For a mass
the family,
deportation.
making them, no, if there's a mass a law that makes them all citizens, naturalizes them all,
Oh God.
and gives them a pass, grandfather
Amnesty
in.
for all.
Once you get amnesty, and they become citizens,
That's
now
it.
everybody is able to vote legally, and then you just created a multi-million-dollar voter bank. So that's the
Pretty
theory
much.
behind
And
that.
they
And
will
that
be loyal to whoever
Right.
was in the
Whoever
party
brought them
that
here.
that gave them amnesty.
Right. Now that takes it back to the question. Let's get back to the debate. We went long way around here,
Hey,
but
that's okay.
we get back to that reason why the president kept coming back to the importance of the immigration issue.
Yes.
It's the basis. He made comment about the economic impact, and truly, people that come to this country and take jobs from the people that are here that want to work. We can sit here and argue about the bull about, well, they take jobs that nobody else wants. I got news for you. There's somebody that's going to want that job if someone pays enough. If you're going to pay somebody cash and pay them almost nothing to pick your berries, to pick your
You'd
corn,
be surprised.
to work, to clean your bathrooms, or whatever the case may be, yeah, certainly they're going to take that because that's money that gets funneled back to the home country where they came from. But if you offer that same
And
job,
I will say this, as working in a retail establishment that we cannot disclose on this channel, I have seen that happening every Friday with my own eyes.
money
Lines
gets
and
wired out.
lines. And they send it all to Venezuela. They send it all to Honduras, a lot of Honduras, Mexico City, and even it is worldwide. It is not, but the majority is those southern countries.
It's going to Mexico and it's going south.
It's just the
It's
facts.
south of the border. I mean, I don't go to
Yeah.
the bank much anymore. It isn't like the old days that on Friday we ran to the bank edge and we took a trip by the bank to get our cash for the weekend. Pre ATM, pre everything.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
going
before
to the
debit
bank is
cards.
something I go when I have to, and there's very very rare cases where I have to. But go to the bank on a Friday. You see
Yeah.
you see the lines, you see who's there, and you see who's cashing those checks or breaking those bills, and then the wire transfers, and there. But it's easier now. It used to be solely you had to go to the banks to do this, but now with the large retail outlets that have basically banking facilities within them, check cashing and wire transfers,
full scale
that.
banking operation, essentially.
Or you can go. I know around here, I guess they're all over the country, but these cash loan places, you can go in there.
Oh,
for a
those are
couple
very
bucks and
popular
wire
here
money.
too.
Yeah, the Western Union money. That's what they do. They send it out of the country. Let's be honest. So, don't tell me that there's not people here that wouldn't take a job if a job was offered to them. There's plenty of people that wouldn't. But that's always been the argument. And at the end of the day, this isn't. It's an economic issue and it's a public safety issue, because all the people coming across the border. It isn't like 20, 30, 40 years ago, where the people coming across the border with their kids in tow were here to try to make a buck and have a better life. A lot still are. There's not all bad people coming across the border. I'm not saying all people coming across the border are a bunch of...
But we can't be blind to say that everyone that's coming across, as Kamala Harris suggested in last night's events, right. She made it sound as if everyone who is coming into our country illegally across our southern border and the like are coming with the best of intentions for themselves, for us as American citizens, and that is not the case. It has been proven so many times. People have died. Children have died. I mean, this is not a joking matter, and it's not something you lie about.
How can you say that is the case when, again, people coming across the border, people coming from China, people coming from other nations, Korea, other places that they didn't like jump on a ship and come across the ocean to come over here to pick strawberries.
Oh no.
Okay, there are people that have been arrested as terrorists in cells that when they do their homework, they find out they came across the border, the southern border. Our border has become the crux of I don't say to the downfall, but our downfall from within is going to start because of our inability, and that's where the president kept coming back to that over and over. And a lot of people have made remarks about that and said, well, they would ask a question about this or that or the other thing, and Kamala would come back and jump right on the bag and recoil right back in. It is the beginning. It's not the alpha omega, but it's the beginning of the vast majority of where the problems begin.
Right, I agree.
It comes down to economics. It comes, really, they're printing money. The government is. Let's get into, before we say goodnight, I want to make one point that I jumped out. She came out with all of her plans that she's going to have the $6,000 tax credit per newborn child. She's going to have. She wants a $50,000 payment or tax break for each new business. She's talking about. I want to say it was $25,000, I believe, for a new home buyer.
Yeah, new qualifying first-time home buyer.
First-time home buyer. We gave me $25,000 when I built my first house. Now we struggled and paid for it.
Sure did.
Thank you very much. We don't have, as my dad would say, we still don't have much, but what we have is ours. Nobody gave me anything. But we're looking at $25,000. People go out and buy a house, and those would be people that may not keep the house or be able to keep the house. Or get a house anyway with the rates being the way they are today. But all these things that she came up with, the few things that she is going to do, involved handouts. Handouts translate into money. Money turns into...
And who's paying for all that?
And who's paying for it? There's two ways.
You.
Discussion I had with somebody today about this. You're either going to raise taxes or increase debt. And she's going to do both.
And what happened the last time that happened? We went into the Great Depression. That's what threw us head first with no life jacket into an ocean of uncertainty and casualty and starvation, all within our American, economic system, there was no economic system
Right.
anymore. And that's what we're
And,
looking at. There's no way you can't tax people who can't already afford to eat
right.
any
And the only way we
higher.
came out of the Great Depression is because of a war. Had we
Right.
not gone into the World War, where we were able to start putting
And
people to work and producing and basically the government churning out and the people buying
right.
bonds to fund the
Creating
war and et
those
cetera, et
jobs.
cetera. Had that not happened, we would have never gotten out of the Great Depression. But what they're missing the point, they're not talking about all these great things they want to do, and the fact that the price tag on just those items that they're talking about there is almost $2 trillion. Like I think the number I heard was like 1.7 or 1.8 trillion dollars. Now,
A
it's not
year.
all going to be. You can't tax people further down the line than you can, and they will. Trump tax cuts are going to be let to expire. There's going to be additional taxes on both income, Social Security is going to take a hit, and
Mm-hmm.
unrealized capital gains. For those of you that don't know what that is, if you own a home and from this year to last year, it went up in value $50,000, you owe tax on it. Doesn't matter if you sold the house.
Yep.
Doesn't matter in the way things work in the real world today. You sell the house or you sell the property, and then the capital gains, the money you've made, is taxed. This is a situation where you still own the property, you haven't sold the house, it goes up in value, you pay tax on it anyway. So they're going to tax, retax, double tax, and where they can't tax, they're going to print more money and increase the national debt even further than what it is. And right now, our national debt
Right.
is in excess of the entire GNP, the total value of this country. So
We're
where
almost
does it stop?
bankrupt. And that's not a lie. Elon
No.
Musk got on X and went into a big long post about if we continue down the path that we are on by
Mm-hmm.
2040, we will have absolutely bankrupt, and it doesn't matter what's in the Federal Reserve, it doesn't matter what's in Fort freaking Knox, it doesn't matter, any of that doesn't matter.
There's nothing in
We're
Fort
done.
Knox. Don't worry about that.
We're done with, you're not gonna, there's not even remotely going to be enough to provide for every American
That's right.
citizen, but there's also, no matter who works or who doesn't, or how many jobs you work versus how many jobs another person can work, the money that's funneling back into the government is not going to meet the needs of the debt that we already have raised ourselves to the limit of, and we will default as a country. And oh my god, if that happens, you guys, that is so bad. I can't even describe to you how bad that is.
Well,
If
this
if our
becomes
country has to default,
this is a world
bad
shattering
news.
event, and I'm not too
Hmm.
sure that's not down the road coming, irrespective, because this is a
I
hole that's
hope
going to
not.
be hard
God, I
to be
hope
dug out
not.
of. I mean, you could tax everybody at 100% and still not pay off the debt, but that's something that they
No.
don't talk about. And that's something Kamala didn't talk about. I mean, that's one more thing to add to the list. I mean, we've gone down the rabbit hole and back out and fell in the
Down and
snake
around
hole
and up
and
again.
went down the cave and then went on a vacation to South America and on back. But all these things that we've kind of punched around tonight all feed back to what's going on right now in our economy,
Right.
what's going on in our economy that ties into immigration. I'm going to stop calling it illegal immigration because there is some good legal people that follow the rules, and I have no problem with folks. I live in Central Florida, guys. We've got a great population of our Hispanic population, and we've got people from the Middle. I've got
Cuban
friends.
population is just
Cuban
amazing.
population is amazing. The Puerto Rican people that I know that are Puerto Rican. I mean, I sound like I'm picking national
They are the
names, playing.
sweetest people I've ever come across, and I can
And,
say
and it,
this with absolute. I've met some of these people, and they're small business owners, and
mhm.
they treat you like they have known you and your whole family their whole lives.
They are
It's
appreciative
so
for being
heartwarming,
here. They are
right?
blessed to
Just
be
good
here,
souls,
and they've done things the way that they needed to do them, and they needed to
right?
do it, and they are angry at those people from their countries
Who are
and
taking
other
advantage,
countries who have
right?
taken advantage and done it the wrong way, done it a different the wrong way.
That, right.
But I mean, I've got friends in this part of the world from all over, and I'm blessed to have friends from all over and have conversations with these people. I had a conversation with a individual the other day who when he was a young man, he saw some really bad things over in Iraq, and he was able to come over here with his family and begin a life. And great kid,
That's so
great
good.
kid, love him, and we're thankful for those people. We're thankful for the people that that's the kind of people that made this country. So,
Right.
is President Trump and is the GOP? Again, I've come back around to the beginning of this conversation as we've departed away from it. But are we against immigrants? No,
No.
we are not. Immigration is what made this country. We're all
Right.
family, and all our lineage leads back to the immigrants that made this country. We have to shore up the southern border. If we don't, this is no longer a free country and a country that we can be secure in, because what's coming across that border is a problem. And when President Biden came into office, what was the first friggin' thing that man did? One of the first things. He stopped the construction of the wall, and right
No
now,
more wall.
go online. You can see the pictures. It's out there. Do your Googling. The wall components are laying there. They've been laying there for 3.5 years. The day that he came in, or right around that time, the order was given to stop construction. The construction crews walked away and left the wall components laying there in the desert. And that's where they've sat. And guess what?
It's a crying shame.
It's a crying shame, and the illegal immigrants just come across. And our Border Patrol, bless their hearts, those guys and women.
They are the real heroes. Oh, my
They're
goodness.
the heroes down there, and they are getting crapped on about 14 ways to Sunday and get no support, even though Kamala said
None.
we put 6,000 or whatever she said Border Patrol down there, and we're behind them. No.
It's not enough now when you've got thousands of people a day crossing over in droves, and that's only the ones that we know.
Why do you put
have been documented
people in front of tens of thousands and say, stop them? And then when they get here,
good luck. Yeah.
It's a catch and release. You get them, you get your information, they give them a court date, and they cut them loose. And guess what? Nobody ever comes back. So at this point, I think the president used a number of 21 million, I believe.
I am so curious. I do feel like it's higher. I agree with the president. I think or President Trump. We've seen so much over the last 3.5 years of different instances on different days, different months, where it's live coverage of the border, and it looks to the naked eye like there are thousands of people. They have reported on various different news outlets about a caravan of migrants, and that's not a made up situation. That has happened. It is happening still. We're gonna get
until a wall is constructed,
worse.
and this is not getting into the political rhetoric of 2016. We need to put a cork on what's coming across the border, and if we don't do something about it, these things that Angie and I have discussed, the crime issues, people being murdered and raped and killed on the highways and everything else. We haven't even touched on the drug trade, folks, and how many millions of people are going to die because of the fentanyl coming across, that are going to die, that have died.
Yes, absolutely. That are suffering right now. These families that are suffering, and they're not able to get their loved ones the help that they need to get clean. And sometimes, unfortunately, it is too late. And that is absolutely heartbreaking to see that happen to those families and those individuals. But we can change that. We can change the direction of it, and we will.
And the answer isn't to make Narcan over the counter and tell everybody to buy some and keep it in your house.
Oh, no. Do you know what they do downtown, Dad? They put it in a vending machine now.
I heard about that. That is absolutely ludicrous. When it gets, this is Nashville, folks. This is Nashville. I'm going to pick on Nashville. You go to Nashville, well, I used to work in Nashville. I can do hours about that city and what's taking place. It's a great city for music. It's all the good things and all the cool things, but boy, they've evolved and not really
Oh yeah.
all in the direction that's made a lot of people that lived most of their lives there. But they have decided that things are so bad downtown. Instead of worrying about trying to keep things under control and cleaned up, and they've taken the put the handcuffs on the police. They can't do much. You can't do much with when lawlessness is more important or allowed because the dollars flowing in are more important. And like Angie said, they've got a machine downtown. They've got Narcan right down there in the vending machine. So
Yeah.
you go downtown, you get stupid. You
Swipe your debit card and
dope,
Narcan.
go revive your buddy and move on down to the next bar. I find that ludicrous. I mean, and not being mean. I mean, if they save lives
No.
by having vending machines with Narcan, that's better than people dying. But as a society,
Absolutely, but I think it's a sight to see. Right.
I gotta
It's
get a
not what
picture
you
of
would
that.
expect.
I got to get a picture of that.
I'll get you a
we gotta
picture of it.
We got to post that. But
Okay.
when you get to the point where, well, you know what? Instead of helping solve the problem, close the borders, curtail the drug trade, let the police do their jobs, and stop this shit from hitting the street. Excuse my language. But
get some help for our citizens that are struggling with addiction.
Yeah, we're just gonna kind of dial it back and make sure the money keeps flowing into the city, and we'll just make sure we put a Narcan machine downtown. So they're
right.
They're,
It's a Band-Aid that they're trying to. You can put lipstick on a pig; it's still a pig.
It's still a pig. You
Period.
hit that one right on the head. Where'd you learn that from?
My husband.
That's one of my sayings. You tell him to back off.
Okay.
smack him around. But well, hey, we've gone over 2 hours tonight, guys, and we have hit
Holy
a lot of things.
moly! How did that happen?
We've been just rocking and rolling.
This has been great.
We love what we do. We love talking to our subscribers, our future subscribers, and again, we get a little crazy now.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
You guys are awesome for putting up with us. We love being here, and like I tell everybody, it goes along with my other channel also. We don't make a buck. We don't make 50 cents. We do it because we enjoy it, and this channel is our outlet to talk to people. And again, I'll say it again. I know you get sick of hearing it out of my pie hole. It's clear whose team we're rooting for. But we root for that team because and I'll speak for you, Angie, also. We root for that team because we feel we've done our homework, and we feel that's the best chance this country has. This country is in trouble. Now, the president last night made that clear over and over again, and he was criticized for that last night and this morning by the media. Instead of being bright and happy, talking about rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, and what accent we're going to use in what situation this week.
Yeah, but he was very.
I do respect though if you guys don't have the same opinion as we do, I am absolutely mature enough to respect that you will not be voting in the same way that I feel, and that is absolutely your fundamental right as an American. And it's why we have these elections. It's why we have this process. It's so that everybody can be heard. That's the reason why a main reason as to why we were founded. So yes, absolutely, Todd. I agree. Respect for everyone, but this is how we feel. But we will be touching, as we have, on all of the points. It's not just who we're rooting for or against.
If at some point in the future, I doubt this is going to happen, but if some point in the future,
you never know,
the opposing party does come out with a clear-cut, clearly delineated, comprehensive plan of action as to what they or she will do, as opposed to, we need this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other thing, but how we get there, we'll kind of keep that to ourselves for now because we really don't know. Or wait until the GOP platform changes and evolves and says, yeah, we're going to do that too. When they come out with something that makes sense, is fiscally responsible, can be quantitatively
Achieved.
understood and achieved, then we will be. I'll be the first one to go, well, damn. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we ought to try that. But that's not what's coming
and
across. So, go ahead.
Right. I had every hope at the beginning of this, election, when all the primaries, even before, I had every hope for whoever was running that whoever was going to win for president was going to be the absolute best for America. That is the whole goal.
It's all that matters.
For the president. They are not meant to make you happy and feeling all warm and fuzzy inside, okay? That's not the purpose of the president. The president is not here to make sure you feel great 24 hours a day. He or she is not going to make everyone's day, but he or she is there to protect the Constitution, those fundamental rights that we hold so dear as Americans, to be the commander-in-chief. We go to war if it's necessary, and we stay the hell out of it if it's not.
Point
America
taken.
first.
Stop.
America
One
first.
One other point we didn't talk about.
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dad. Sorry.
No, you hit right on it. You. I just had a breaker go off. Had to close the fuse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The discussion last night about Trump, with a question asked of Trump, stopping the war in the Ukraine. Don't let me. Finish what you're saying.
Oh my God, we missed that. How did we miss that?
I know. I completely. I'm done.
It's okay, guys. It's been a lot. Okay.
we're trying to pack and unpack a whole lot in a short period of time. But
right.
What you said. This is all about protecting the nation. The job is to protect the nation, protect the people, serve the people, not have the people serve the government. And that goes in hand when the question was asked about Ukraine. And that all he wants to do, this is not
is end it.
It's end it. The Democrats are more of, are we going to back Ukraine? This is not a question of, are we going to back them? We're already backing them, folks. We're sending them Stinger missiles, tanks. We're sending them
the most money out of any country in the entire world right now. America is number one in funding for Ukraine.
Right, and we're sending them. We're not sending bullets and M1s. They're getting the top of the line stuff that is being used to fight a proxy war against Russia. This is us against Russia with Ukraine in the middle. This is no different than other wars proxy wars that have been fought in the past. But the
outcome of this has very deep implications on Europe, for sure.
Right. And taking a shot at Trump last night because the Polish American population, and my wife is from Pennsylvania, and the Polish American population, as my wife, my father-in-law's side, are all Polish Americans. And to make that remark she made, that the people of
disgusting
Polish people in Pennsylvania, do you want this guy is going to let buddy up because he wants to be buddy with the tough guy and be a tough guy, however she termed it. And next thing you know, they're walking into Poland. Now first of all, it's all horse crap. Not going to happen. It's what NATO's there for. NATO's
right. They wouldn't get past Ukraine into Poland if it's not even like a thought.
Guys, this is when the president talked about sometimes at nauseum about World War III, and you never throw that around as being just a something to
right. I think he feels that way, Dad, because there's so much unrest with Europe, Russia, and the Middle East.
Yeah, I believe there's so much going on that any flicker could start something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this comes down to Poland. To make that remark about Poland, just to get the Polish voters get them in line.
That's disgusting.
Is disgusting. And they'll use whatever they can to get whatever they think they need. So, as a spouse of a Polish woman whose family,
Descendant.
the descendant from, I mean, we're talking, she's one, two, three, fourth generation, right? Yeah, fourth generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting. It's just another way to play people, to get them manipulate people to do what you want them to do, which is to vote for you. Honestly, like you said, Ange, if they ever stepped foot in Poland, there's bigger problems.
Oh, way bigger.
There's bigger
Way,
problems.
so many things. We could have a whole
Yeah.
discussion on just that
Yeah.
alone.
You guys think
And
that,
the implications of that around the world. No.
you know, if you think movies like Red Dawn and things like that are something that could never happen, you know, hold on to your pants, because it could. The Ukraine is not a NATO country. That is why it was easy to walk in and fight, and for us to go in there and supply them and fight a proxy war. Had the Ukraine already, and that's what Putin was trying to stop. And he made very clear that he went in there that he didn't want them being a part of NATO, because that would have NATO right on his doorstep.
Right.
Understandably.
He doesn't want anybody breathing down his borders.
Yeah. We had a little thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis, because we had, Russia decide to put a bunch of nukes just a few miles off the coast here, and
oh yeah, that's everybody's hair's on edge.
Yeah, so I mean, you can understand not wanting to have somebody in your backyard, being part of NATO, and then having the ability to retaliate,
to defend itself.
And to defend itself. So that's where that whole thing came down from. But to accuse him of being someone that doesn't want to assist, they're turning it into, you need to help those people, versus we just want to stop the war. There's a way to get these two together.
Stop the killing.
I mean, however it happens, whether you say, we're just going to you need to withdraw, or here's your new territory. I don't know. I'm not an international.
Put some sanctions on both countries.
Yeah.
So that if anything like this was to start again, there would be serious implications to that on either side. I think that's fair. We do that with most situations such as this. And that's what Putin knows is coming down the pike. That's why he actually, I don't know if it was sarcasm or in actual fact, he technically endorsed Kamala Harris, because there is no actual threat from her.
Why would anybody with a shred of sanity believe that he's not backing the person whom he thinks he can manipulate and get the most out of? You don't go with the person.
This is Putin we're talking about, people.
It's just Putin. He's ex oh my God, help me.
He's ex KGB.
KGB, thank you. I'm having a moment here. So yeah, you think that's, they want Kamala because
that's what they do, is manipulate. They're like the CIA, but like on steroids, but evil. Yeah. They're like an evil CIA. And that's what they do. They train for this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
that's facts
honestly,
too.
Whatever he wants, you do the opposite. That's like Ronald Reagan said. When the government says we're here to help, run. When Putin says, yeah, I like that person, fire him and get somebody new.
He likes them for a reason.
Exactly. So that was one thing that I wanted to get back to the debate that popped up, that whole interchange on the Ukraine, and how the president was painted as being an uncompassionate, warmongering, you would turn your back on those poor people, blah, blah, blah. He would not turn his back on those people. What he would do is find a way to stop the war. There's not going to be a game of we're going to keep sending missiles, because the more we send, the more the fighting continues.
The more they're going to use them.
Yeah, well, you're going to kill more people. That's what they're designed for.
Right.
You don't make cruise missiles to hang bulbs on at Christmas. I mean, shit.
I think and Trump stated, Dad, too, that he would fix it before he was sworn in as the 47th president.
And that
here's how I think he might do it.
That may be a stretch. I don't know.
It might be a stretch, but the
understanding Mr.
The
Trump,
process will be started.
Trump. I'm so sorry, Mr. President. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be not address you properly, like some do.
Okay.
It's okay.
I think
And
he'll
by
be
the
a little
way,
more
Mr.
forgiving, Dad.
President, we'd love to interview you if you can find. Well, some of your people find their way over here, which
Oh.
is probably a slim chance. But we would love to have the opportunity. Using a term that I probably shouldn't, I don't want to get in trouble, but a fair and balanced conversation.
Right.
One where you will be treated with the respect you deserve, not a browbeating. So we would certainly. I mean, I doubt that's ever going to happen, but I would love that opportunity
Well,
to have that conversation, because when you talk or when you listen to the president, I mean, you if you're a never Trumper and you just hate the man,
that's unfortunate, but I understand.
it's unfortunate because if you listen, and I tend to be a good judge of character, always have been in business over the years. Had plenty of opportunity to meet many people, and I see and I hear the sincerity in the man's voice. This man,
Oh yeah.
he don't need this crap. It would have been
No.
a whole lot easier.
And
to
he
say,
cares
you know what?
so deeply, and you can see it
loves
in
this
his
country.
convictions and what he says.
Yeah, he loves this
He
country.
really-
He loves the people of this country.
He loves
and
it
would do
so
anything.
much.
This man took
Yes.
a bullet, and I'm telling you what. We can make that part of our tin hat show about that. That's another deal
Yes.
completely. But he made the remark last night, so I feel I can repeat it. That all this that you said about me and all that you stirred up about me and the lies you've told is probably the reason I took a bullet. Because you got somebody stirred
And
up
I
in there.
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and that no one should be shot at ever, and certainly no sitting or ex-president. So I think that rhetoric needs to slow down and stop, because when it boils over, stupid things like this happen. And
Right.
I don't know where that direction, how that came out, but again, it comes down to if you listen to the president and you don't judge based on what you're being told, how you're being told to think, you can see.
Oh yeah, because that's exactly what's happening. Don't get it mistaken, guys. They are feeding you with every soundbite and every clip that is hand selected to manipulate you. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to stop. It's not.
No. We are what I say 54 days out from an election, and it is.
And that's a heartbeat away.
It's a heartbeat away, and a lot more is yet to come. A lot more. You mark my word.
And
there's a lot more to come.
We will. I have a feeling Oh yeah, we are going to see that typical. What do they call it, Dad? The
October surprise.
Like the Trump. The surprise of October. The October surprise. I'm telling you guys, don't get those bingo cards and start filling them out with the most crazy wackadoo stuff you could think of, and let's just see. I want to see in the comments.
Yeah.
Closer to election. Has anything on your bingo card come true? Because anything's possible at this point, right? I mean, who knows?
Send us the comments, guys. Get out there and tell us what you think is coming down the road, what the next play is going to be. Another question, do you think there's going to be another debate? I've got my own opinion.
I did talk to Mom about this today, and she kind of agrees with me, but I'm not sure. I think after last night, the Kamala Harris and Walz, Tim Walz campaign people are just patting themselves. They're giving the little backs and the round of applause, and the plaques are going out and the congratulations. They want another debate because they feel that she did so amazingly well. Well, the same goes for the other side. The Trump team thinks that Trump might have done a little better, but that he was still on par with what the expectation was. He talked about all the points. I think they're both going to want to debate again. They're not going to be able to agree, though, on what news network they're going to debate on, what the rules are going to be. So I think at the end of the day, this might be the only presidential debate, and we might get just stuck with the VP debate.
Well, there's the talk was, and what should happen, is at least 3 presidential debates. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
bare
but we
minimum.
got such a late start
Now,
with the Harris campaign.
well, the whole coup and he's
The
out and she's
switcheroo.
in, and that whole thing just derailed that. Fox has offered again. Actually, I think they've
Yeah.
offered twice. They put out 2 proposals. They're willing to have do whatever needs to happen. Has to happen. There'll be an audience. There'll be closed mics, open mics, whatever you want. What do the candidates decide? They'll be willing to do. I don't believe Kamala's ever going to agree to go on Fox.
Oh God, no! And
Whereas
with
the
an
president
audience,
will.
oh no!
Oh, yeah, the president has and will do whatever is necessary because he doesn't have a fear of going out in front of people. And I do believe if there is a second debate, there will be a hugely different outcome.
I do
don't.
too.
I deep down agree with you that my senses tell me, my spidey senses tell me there will not be another debate. Be surprised if there was. I hope there is. I hope I'm absolutely wrong.
I hope so too. I think the American people deserve to
Yeah.
get another shot at the two of them in the same room, duking it out. It is
It's not the
absolutely
bickering part.
essential.
Let's make sure that there's a list of the items that people care about, and that those questions are asked. And you know what? The candidate doesn't get off the hot seat, regardless of who they are, which side, until they answer the question. I mean,
Do
moderators
it
that are going,
Hillary style in 2016. Get them walking around the stage. The audience is asking all the questions. You've got the moderators there to
Right.
keep it,
Oh.
clean and level.
I had a
I want to
conversation
see
with a
that.
coworker about this. We agreed that it should be the old way. Have moderators. You got to have somebody controlling the craziness.
Right. You got to have a referee to kind of keep it level.
Let the audience, let the American citizens ask the questions. Because I'm going to guarantee
Absolutely.
you, if I'm sitting there and I say, I'd like you to comment on your plan to provide this, whatever, tax increase or tax cuts, whatever. Pick the topic. And
Right.
if I don't get an answer to my question, I'm going to be the one going, you didn't answer the question. Now, could you please answer the damn question? They gave me the right to ask you a question, and technically y'all work for me
I came
anyway.
all the way out here.
Yeah. I'm your employer. Okay? You're the vice president. You are the ex-president, but you're still getting a stipend for being ex-president. Answer my question. What's so hard about that?
The American people deserve to know.
Instead of having 2 moderators play, verbal touchy-feely and then pass the softball off so one candidate can dig in and tear up the other one again. So, yeah, let's go back to the old side.
There's no fairness to that.
I agree with you 1,000%. And have the audience, have the moderators ask some questions too. Of course, that's what they're there for.
Right.
And hand the mic off. Have a control group.
That'd be
questions.
just fantastic.
Yeah, and say, okay, half of the questions we're going to take from the audience, and we know what the questions are. We're going to call the people in order. They've been vetted, and but you're going to either answer the question or we're going to let them come back to you and ask you why you didn't, and we're going to give them another 2 minutes. The people that actually are going to be voting for your sorry butt. I think that would be a great thing. Is it going to happen? No, because you have the parties.
After what happened to Hillary in 2016, I don't think the Democrats are willing to go down that road anymore.
Never happened again.
Way too dangerous, and she fell flat on her face during that debate. That's a whole separate situation, but I do feel like if Kamala Harris was in that situation, it would be a repeat, and they can't afford that in this campaign. They just can't.
And that's how we started off this episode. It comes down to, with the media and with the party, not wanting to risk the potential redo that some of the deeper cross polls have been and are continuing to disclose. This could be it could be a barn burner, it could be the worst night in history. As you said, things are way too freaking close.
Way too close. And we still do have a couple of weeks.
Oh Oh yeah, and I think there's going to be. I think the next 36 to 48 hours is going to be a big slide, and not a slide, but some significant movement in what the numbers are showing. But at the end of the day,
Right.
polls are polls. Trump proved already that polls don't tell the accurate story. They always underpoll the Republicans. They always do.
That's true.
So your numbers are always going to skew out. And if you're looking at just the raw poll numbers versus the numbers that are going to tie into the states that are going to provide the largest electoral votes in the electoral college, those numbers are ones that you got to pay attention to. And right now, those numbers are showing up strong as hell for an electoral victory.
Yeah,
But
I think right now he's
states
projected
gotta
at
hold.
312, Dad, as of today.
Yeah, I had a discussion earlier today, and I hate to predict because I feel like I'm bringing potential bad luck down on something. But yeah, I said conservatively, no pun intended, 300.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that's out of the question, and I don't think that's
a landslide.
too far fetched. Yeah, anything over 300 is a landslide, you guys. No matter what the media tries to say, look it up. That's what it's classified as, and that's what we will be calling it if that does in fact happen.
Right. So what I think we're going to be doing here, let's plan a little bit ahead. We're going to continue to have our weekly. Maybe we'll even punch it up to twice a week. All depends what timing allows us to do. Life can get in the way. Plus, I've also got like I said, 2 launches going off this morning. I got to retool the equipment and get the studio reset.
You better take a power nap.
Sleeps for wimps. Trump doesn't sleep. If
Get that coffee brewing, Dad.
If Donald takes mini naps, then I'll take mini naps.
Hey, it's working for him. He's doing great.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Mr. President, that offer stands. If there's anybody out there that finds their way completely accidentally to Let's Talk About It with Papa D, come
on down. We'll sit with you anytime.
I will send you a dial-in invite, and we would love to have just a few minutes of your time, and you can trust that Papa D and Angela, we got to come up with Angela D or AD or the big Kahuna. I don't know. We got to work on that.
I don't know. I'll work on it.
Come up with something. Let's. Hey guys, any thoughts? Leave it in the comments. Why not?
Okay, yeah, there you go. Tell us.
Yeah, we want comments on just about everything. We need some input here, so don't ignore me.
Yeah, like, subscribe.
But we'd love to do that, and I think what we're going to be doing, we got to start doing some really pre-planning for the election, for election night. Whether it's going to be a live during or live after, or how we plan it, but give us your thoughts on that. I'm certainly going to be. I've got plenty of video feed capabilities. I'm not sure what legally I could bring across on that, but I certainly can. We can certainly bring.
Well, we got time to look into it too to see what we can.
We can look into that.
How long?
Election. This is going to be a historic night, and I think we need to punch up not just a recap, but where things are heading. So we'll get more into that. Guys, we are at 2 hours and 40 minutes. We have set a new record here at episode 11.
Thanks for sticking around if you're still here with us.
Yeah, yes.
And thank you to everybody who's watching on the replay. Thank you so much for
we've been gaining
really
a lot of solid ground, and we appreciate everyone sticking with us. And we're trying.
Yeah.
We love what we do.
We do this for you guys.
Yep. This is this doesn't get us anything other than the joy of having a chance for Angie and I to talk politics and bring it to you and help you make a decision. And this is going to continue on post-election. This is not
there's so much
election season
to go because we have midterms and we have
oh my goodness
the fallout of who wins, who loses, and all kinds of stuff. So please don't go anywhere after
Yep,
the
just
election is.
keep subscribing and keep liking.
Yeah.
If when you come out
Share
to
it
see
with
the
your
videos,
friends.
send out those shares. Share it out there.
Yeah.
We want to try to get as many people enjoying and interacting. We don't get nearly enough comments coming through, and we'd like to open up. I'd like to have a situation as soon as it becomes possible. I can do it now. Bringing in other individuals who want to sit and chat about a certain topic, that want to do it. If it's not chat, we can do it via the comment section and set up a comment box and there's different.
Right.
There's plenty of options, and Angela and I have the option of doing that. So, bringing our subscribers and our guests into this is certainly something I would love to do, and I hope one day to be able to. And I'm looking into bringing, some of our local Florida politicians who may want to talk and give us their insight on some things. What seems to happen in Florida then happens everywhere, at least from the GOP perspective. So,
right.
But I think we'll probably wrap this one up now. Thank you guys for coming out. I am blessed to
thank you.
Be able to have this time with my daughter, and I'm blessed to have time to bring our thoughts out to you guys. We'll continue to do so. Leave your comments, subscribe, like, share, do all that cool stuff. Again, I'm begging and pleading. Likes,
hit that bell. Hit the bell.
Ring the bells, man, because all that stuff gets to the algorithm, and then more people get to know we're here, and then they come out and visit, and this whole thing happens, and I gotta be cool. Hey, Ange, we gotta be cool. We're on YouTube, right? Seriously,
we gotta be so cool.
We are very cool until I try to be cool. Then I'm not cool anymore.
Hey, so we got it. We got it.
That's stupid. No, just remember, I got one thing here, guys. Here you go. Right there.
Oh my gosh,
days,
it's coming up quick.
1 hour and 40 seconds from now. The most important day, I believe, in our country's history will be here. And you all need to learn everything that's going to happen, do your investigations, understand,
right,
and make the decision. But vote. And one other thing. I said no more stuff. I keep coming up with stuff. Where'd it go? I don't have it here anymore. Oh, here it is. Boom. Check out this website, guys. Protect the vote.
Yes, absolutely yes.
We have not talked about it, but just real quick, because we ran way over on time tonight. Protect the Vote is a site. Go to it's protectthevote.com. We do not have any affiliation with them. They're not sponsors, but we believe in this effort. It's an effort funded and set up by the GOP. Right now, they've changed the page a little bit. There's legal cases that they're showing, but the big thing you can do here, this is all about election integrity, as the page says, and you can go out and volunteer. You can go in, and I'm looking for volunteer lawyers, but anyway, you can go and
you can donate. Oh.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff that all of a sudden blew up here, but it is Protect the Vote, and this is a site that you can log in, put your name in there. You can devote a little bit of time if you want to. You can make donations if you'd like, but it's not required. And if you see something, you can go on this site and you can report voter irregularities, because this is enough of an important election that just voting isn't the only thing you have to do. We got to make sure the votes count. So by doing this, I wish I could. There it is. I found it again.
Yay!
But you can volunteer. You can go and enter your information. You can go in and input what state you're in. It will give you a lot of information about that state and what you need to do to become a poll watcher, to be a volunteer, whatever the case may be. But a great resource. It's one that I became a part of, signed up for, and it is something I think would be good to check out because, again, the votes only matter if they count. And I think a lot from what homework I've done and researching this site. So again, no affiliation, no sponsorships, nothing like that. It's just a site that I've come across that I believe in. Angie and I have talked about it, and
right.
It's
just a good resource for you guys too.
It's a hell of a resource, and it's an important resource. With, again, we can tell you vote, 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 many votes as we possibly can. That's very important, but those votes have to be made to count, and we cannot have a redo of prior elections where a year down the road or 2 years down the road you're finding hundreds of thousands of ballots stuffed in a closet, and this is a step towards that end not being how the story ends. So check them out. I think it's a great
yeah.
book. So with that said, we are done now, for real. We're done for
we did
tonight. But I want to thank you guys for coming along again. The subscriptions are appreciated. Your support is appreciated.
Yes, absolutely.
We're trying to jam as much as we can. We hope you stick around for the whole episode. But if you catch us on repeats with bits and pieces, we understand that.
That's okay. It was a long one, you guys.
Well, I can't watch a 3-hour movie. I wouldn't expect anybody to sit through 3 hours of me trying to chatter and you coming up with the numbers and all the stuff we're doing. So we're going to try to keep these episodes down a little bit, but I can't promise anything because as we get further into this election season with all that is going on, it's just hard, and we want to try to bring as much
it is very
as
difficult.
we can. You're going to do something, do it right. And we're just trying to bring you all as much information and entertainment. Boy, I do need a cup of coffee.
Little spicy entertainment,
Yeah, What was I going to say here? I was going to say something.
Why not? It's late, and it might, it's past Joe Biden's bedtime. So I think we're getting towards that point, Dad.
It's always past his bedtime, and if they would just go wake him up and have him sign a border bill, we'd be in good shape.
God.
Where have I heard
know.
that?
One phone call. Phone call, man.
Get off your butt.
Just one.
Take off your Tiffany earrings or your microphones, whatever they are. Put them in a box. Go and knock on the door. Wake his butt up and sign a border bill. Or
right, you're like, hey, Joe, guess what? The house is on fire. Like, kids do to their parents. Just lie. Just get them up out of the bed.
No, what you say is, Joe, there's free ice cream downstairs. He'll be running down there like a...
That might work. That might work.
Got to watch what you say.
I hate to even say that.
Ice cream, Joe. Here comes the ice cream man.
2 scoops this time. 2 scoops.
You know what? You buy one, you get 2 free in a border wall. There you go. Anyway, guys, it's way past.
We're tired.
We're over now. We're done. So you guys have a great night. We appreciate you.
Thank you for stopping in.
Thank you all. And as
God bless America.
Got that right. I was going to say the most important thing, God bless America. And God bless everybody that our servicemen and all the people that serve us, our police,
absolutely,
our EMS, all those folks. We love y'all, and we appreciate everything. And please, if you can get a note to the president to come on, talk with us for a minute, that'd be cool too. Just saying.
That'd be freaking awesome.
All right, guys. You guys have a great evening, and we're going to be setting up for the next episode. More than likely next week, it will be on the channel, and there will be a notify button for you to hit, so you'll be notified when we come on.
Hit that notify button.
Bang that! Hey, smash that button. Smash it, crash it, and then we'll see if we can get Joe some ice cream. All right, boys and girls.
You never know.
Never know.
See you guys later.
Have a good night. We'll see you later. Where you at? There's my camera. All right. God bless America, folks. See you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.